This is the SimAbility 360-degree hand controls for the Thrustmaster T300 or the TX base. This is still a development model, but the production model will look pretty much like this. So I'm just going to go over this a little bit, just for those that are waiting for an order. I'm actually building a couple. If you're waiting for a G27 order, it's going to have these same features. It's just going to go on a G27. So let me go ahead and jump in and take a look at the brake first. The brake does have the 360-degree ring, allows you to operate the brake no matter what angle the wheel is at. You could also put the optional paddle on there. The brake ring is comfortable, but if you have any trouble moving your thumbs back, you may switch to the paddle. Now the actual functionality of the brake, it operates, this is an RC long shock, so you have some adjustability in the spring tension. It is a two-stage shock. But the biggest thing I wanted to point out was the new conical rubber. This, hopefully I can get this in the film. This is a new feature so that conical rubber comes in and you can adjust it with your fingers on the fly. You want that rubber to come in right when you hit threshold braking. So you know right when you get on that rubber, you're about to lock the wheels up. It gives it a real hydraulic feel. That and the shock absorber. And again, this can be adjusted on the fly. So if you need a little more travel before you hit the rubber, or if you're not getting enough braking, you probably want to back it off. If you're getting too much braking, you can go ahead and crank the rubber down and you get on the rubber sooner. But that is the brake mechanism. I'm going to move on to the throttle. Okay, for the throttle ring, it's the same 360-degree throttle ring that I used on Bill Schultz's wheel. It's been around for a little while now for SimAbility. The only changes to that, we do have a little bit more adjustability. It has the backstop adjustability. The previous models had that. This one does have the addition of spring adjusters. You can actually put a screwdriver through here and get on the screw, and you can adjust the spring tension for your throttle return. So if you run long races with a lot of open throttle, you can set the spring a little softer and vice versa. Also too, the sensor has some adjustability to it. So now you can actually move the throttle ring farther away or closer to the wheel if you need it. If you don't have very long fingers, you can actually put the throttle ring pretty close. It self-calibrates when you do that. But that is the throttle ring. So one thing I get questions on quite commonly are shifting. How do you shift with the 360-degree ring in the way of the paddles? It turns out it's actually fairly easy. If you are downshifting, we'll focus on downshifting first. We're on the throttle, get off the throttle. I can actually get around the ring fairly easily. I can also adjust the ring so that it only comes back that far. Makes it a little easier to get to the paddle. But what's really nice is if you drive a car that requires a blip on downshift, you blip and downshift at the same time. Or even if it doesn't require a blip and downshift, you can still blip and downshift. But the downshifting is pretty easy. You could also, if you do drive a lot of car, you could even put a little spacer block on here to make it a little bit easier to downshift. But downshifting is not too bad. So let's go look at acceleration. Alright, for acceleration, when I'm going down the straightaway, when I'm on full throttle, it exposes the paddle, so it's fairly easy. I can shift with one finger, multiple fingers. I could even hold the throttle with the other hand and shift. It's pretty much whatever you're comfortable with. I've tried a lot of different things, but that's the upshifting. One of the primary goals of SimAbility is to make hand controls that require as little modification as possible to the base. You could even, if you run the wiring externally, you could literally buy the SimAbility hand controls and just plug them into the stock base. The quick change functionality remains intact. Back off the screw, and I can take the whole hand control function off. Now for this particular model, I have added a 15-pin connector, so I'm running the Thrustmaster button controls through the quick disconnect. I'm also running the sensors the sensors for the throttle and brake through the disconnect as well. There's also a wire in here for a possible future clutch. We'll see if that ever happens. But that is this particular model. The throttle and brake controls run through the base. The idea here is that you could actually add a future F1 wheel. I do want to eventually make an F1 wheel with clutch paddles. So you could take the round wheel off, you could put the F1 hand control wheel on. That's a goal of mine down the road. Now, to help explain how this works, I'm going to set this wheel aside. And the SimAbility hand controls use, what we're doing is I'm taking the part off the wheel. Can't remember what it's called. The adapter piece just comes off of the stock wheel, and I've just replicated the adapter piece. So now the SimAbility hand controls will plug right into the stock wheel, and on the other side, the piece you took out, the adapter you took off the wheel, attaches to the SimAbility hand controls, and basically all goes together like that. So the SimAbility hand controls just plug in between the wheel and the base. And if you run the wires externally, you can keep the stock connector. So if you wanted to keep your base totally stock, you could do that. Again, this model has the 15-pin connector, which definitely makes it a lot easier, cleaner, no wires on the outside. All right, so that's it. This is the again, this is the Thrustmaster model. If you're waiting for a G27, it's going to have these features. They're going to be on the G27 model, and we'll do some video on that when it's done. If you're looking into getting hand controls in the future, I'm hoping to be able to make these on a regular basis by December, January. And but if you're looking to buy something, I think the TX base, because now you can get the TX base by itself, and then you can buy the wheel separately. That way you're not paying for the foot pedals, and you can buy the leather wheel. I understand there's an Alcantara wheel coming out. So this really is a great option, and the force feedback is good on these. Great option if all you need is hand controls. If you're looking for something used or a little bit where you already have a G27, we can put these same controls on a G27. But right now, if you can get a G27 for cheap, which you can use, that's a great option. But if you have to buy new, right now it looks like the Thrustmaster is the best way to go. And that wraps it up for this video. Thanks for watching.